Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a follow-up video of the carb rebuild video. The carb rebuild for the 717, the 95 XP with the 717 engine that I just uploaded. Today we're going to be doing a pop-off test on these carbs we just rebuilt. In the one video I showed rebuilding the one with the pump, went through all that and explain that the rest of it, that the second carb is much easier as it doesn't have the pump, but it's exactly the same thing other than the pump. And I rebuilt that in between the videos. And now we're going to do a pop-off test. I'm using this little bike pump, this little mini pump here. I believe I got it off Amazon with the fittings and stuff here. I believe I got these from Nick at OSD Marine. And we have some gas lines here with bolts plugging them tight. So for this test, you're going to want, of course, some gas lines, bolts, some hose clamps, this pump, the fittings, and some good old WD-40. So we have our carb. We have these two lines plugged, and we're filling the intake line here. This is the line this is the fitting we're going to be pumping air into. And what we're going to fill this with WD-40, this cavity here. So I don't run out. We just want to have it filled with WD-40 so it'll spray when it hits that pop off. And according to the chart at Nick's page, this should pop off. It's got a wide range between 40 and I think 56 psi. That's the range this should pop off at. I'm going to put my camera on my tripod. And hopefully we can see here. This is our little gauge. Zoom in. Whoops. I want to flip that back. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm going to have my safety glasses on because this will spray fluid. Okay. So we're going to pump. We're going to build pressure. And you see we're holding. We're at 30. Now we're at 40. Now we're in our range. We're at 45. We're at 50. Oh, yep. We popped off about, I would say we're popping off about, let's try that again. Popping off probably 48 or 50. Yep, about 50. So we're good. According to that chart, we're good. Okie dokie. Hopefully I wasn't blocking too much there. So now I'm going to take my hoses and stuff off of this one. Remember the first time I did this, I was always confused on which ports to plug. Also, in the last video, I didn't finish setting the high and low needles, but I looked up and they were 1 3/4. So this one should be 0. And this one, we turned out 1 3/4. Yeah, 1 3/4. That's the setting for a 95 XP with the 720. So now let's put We have our diaphragm. Put that back on like that. And this has this little ear that only goes on one way. Should be just like that. And we take our little screws. I'm just going to get these started. So we can get these snug for now. So they're all a little snug. Sorry, you probably can't see me. So get all those and tighten them up. Zoom this out. It keeps wanting to flip my camera. Okay. Get all these good and tight. And make sure we got all these tight before we did the pop-off test. So that carb is good to go. Now we're going to do this one. This will be the PTO side. The one that doesn't have the pump. So we have our out arrow and our in arrow. This one's pretty self-explanatory which one we pump in. So I'm going to put our plug one on this one. Get her tight. Now, if anyone has any other way of plugging this, I just used a bolt and really tightened it up on here. It seems to work, but it's probably the most cheapest way you can find a plug. I'm not sure if they make anything else specific that would cap that off. Now we're going to put this on the inlet. And we'll tighten that up. I'll make sure that it's at a spot that's easy to... It's kind of a pain to do because it's pointing down. You'll have to excuse the mess from rebuilding all these carbs. But we'll get that tight. Hopefully we won't have any leaks. So our gauge, let's do a leak test, see what we're popping out of that. Okay. She's holding. Now let's fill it with some WD-40. So we have some lubricant. And let's pump. That one's a little higher. I think that was about 52. But that's still within spec. Yeah, we're at about 52. I'm going to do it one more try. I always like to try to test them at least 2 or 3 times. Just for consistency so you can get an average. Oops, there we go. Yep, that was about 50, 51. So we are within spec on both of these. And again, that's using Nick Grillo's at OSD Marine. That's using his back to OEM kit. So it's OSD parts or osdmarine.com. And that's his instructions. Comes with everything you need, as you've seen in the previous video. And he says many times on the forum that there's no need to check for pop-offs, because if you use his kits with the right springs, with his springs, you're within spec. And he is correct. We were within spec. Where you have to be worried about is if these arms for the needle and seat, the needle right there, is if that ever gets bent. If that gets bent, then you could be out of whack. But we're using his spring, so we know the spring is good. And this is our original arm, so we know we're good. So we didn't have to use the new arms that we purchased. So we can keep those for spares. Because when you get used carbs off eBay, or you buy a used machine, you never know what the previous people did when they did with this. When they could have bent that, try to get it within spec or whatnot. They could have put in a cheap Chinese kit. Who knows what they did? So I love Nick Grillo's backed OEM kits. If you're running an all stock machine, and you get a carb or a used ski and you want to make sure it's all stock, his kit is the way to go. It comes with everything you need and really nothing you don't need. You can get those Mikuni parts kits off Amazon or eBay or wherever from other buyers, and they come with a lot of gaskets, a lot of stuff, because they're a universal for multiple different stuff. So there's a lot of those that you will just throw away. There's a lot of gasket stuff you won't use. So it can be very confusing. With his kits that are specifically for the Sea-Doo 717 or the 787 or the 951, they come with exactly what you need, nothing you don't. So you won't have any spare parts left over. Of course, we'll have these spare arms because we ordered those separate just in case. In case these were goofed up. Excuse me. So we're going to take this plug here back off. And we're ready to put this stuff back together. I'm going to put our damper back on, or diaphragm, whatever you want to call that thing. Sorry, I do not know all the terminology. Put that on. And this is our cable holder. It goes just like that. And his kit comes with these bolts, so you don't have to reuse your old Phillips ones. You don't have to use these. They get stripped out. These nice metric socket heads are the way to go. And if you do round them off, at least you can still get a vice grip around this round head and get them off. Or you can use a Dremel to cut a slot to get a flat head. So you have better options to get them off if they do round off. But I've never had an issue with these rounding off. We'll get these good and tight. I don't know if there's actually a torque spec to these. I do not know. I always just got them good and hand tight with a little elbow muscle to them. So that goes to our oil pump cable. And see, what did I do with that oil pump cable? Okay. In the other video, I didn't show me taking this off, but this is this type of oil pump. It's got this barrel and then this here. if you watch that other video, I explained how there's different types of carbs. I mean, different types of oil pumps cables. There's different styles. So there's this style that has this barrel, and then there's the other style which uses this. So this is the oil pump here, and it just goes in here, and it's got the barrel that sits into that hole. And in my previous video, I explained that if you have an issue where you have one or the other, you can easily swap. You can easily get this butterfly off another carb or something, and because these are exactly the same. Well, not these two, but you can get this butterfly off another carb, and you can swap this onto this. So if you have the other style cable that isn't this style, you can take this off, take this nut and stuff off here to remove this, and swap on one of those, and it'll work. I had to do that with one of those other XPs I restored because it had the carbs I bought for it were for a different style, were one or the other. I can't remember which it was. But so we're gonna run this, take this nut here off, and that runs right through there. First, let's thread that into there like that. Now, once we get this on the ski, we'll have to adjust and set that oil pump. Why do I feel like that's backwards? This is one that's complete together. So you can see it lines up straight up here, goes in straight up. So that's what we're aiming for. Excuse my mess. So put the cable in there first. Just like that. Now, this one here will get tight. We'll tighten that bad boy up. Grab our 10 mil, tighten that up. Okay. So when I took this off, I cracked this loose, then I turned it a little bit. So that should be close to where we need to be. So I'm just going to kind of snug it up. I'm not going to crank on it too much and get too tight. When we get this back in the ski, we'll need to crack that loose, and then we'll need to maybe turn this in or out or adjust it when we get our oil pump lined up. So this way the cable's on it, we're good to go. Next, clear this off. So we got our pop-off test done. So this is the PTO side, so it goes like that. And then this here just snaps on, just like that. Now in the previous video I mentioned when taking the carbs off, a lot of people will cut the choke cable because they can't see this little metric Allen screw. Because when you're looking down in the engine, you're looking down like that, and your choke cable goes through these holes, and you can't see that little Allen screw, set screw. And it pisses me off when people cut these cables off when they're parting out. For this one, they cut the choke cable, probably because they couldn't figure out how it came undone. I even have one where they literally cut this off because they couldn't figure out how to get that done. So I use a little set screw. Take 2 seconds. Save the cable. Stop cutting the cables. A lot of these cables are getting harder to find, and people are just, when they part out machines, people need those cables. Don't cut them. And here we have our, sorry for that, I don't have my sister here holding my camera today. Here we have, this is the idle adjust screw. Some of the different styles actually have a butterfly with the little rods that look like this. So that's easier to turn. This is a pain to get in here and turn. Now, in theory, this opening here is what that's for. So you can get in there with a screwdriver, a flathead, and turn that. That's what it's meant for. But when this is in the hull on the engine, you can't see anything. It's down there and it's a pain to get at. Most of the time I go by feel, reach my hand up in there, and I turn it by finger. You got to be a contortionist. So these carbs are done, and they're ready to get put on the base. We have our base gaskets here. So when we're ready to install them, they will go on that engine over there, on our 720 engine that we got rebuilt from Peter at Fox Valley. So we're getting real closer. Getting real closer to getting stuff in that engine, in that hull, and getting that engine in the hull. And we've got our pump for that right here. I rebuilt that over the winter. Or in the fall. I didn't do a video on that one, but I do have other pumps. I've got plenty of pumps. I got that pump to rebuild, and I think I already did that one, but then I got other ones on the skis outside and the holes outside to do. So I will be doing a pump rebuild video, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this pop-off test along with the previous carb rebuilding video, and we'll do another video later of us installing that engine, and then putting the carb and stuff on, and we'll get that XP all buttoned up and hopefully get it sold. So stay tuned for the follow-up for those, and hit the like button, comment, subscribe, leave a comment. This is a really short video. I didn't want to. The other video was going on 49 minutes, almost an hour, and I wanted to keep the pop-off test a little separate for people that are just here for the pop-off. So hopefully that helps you. So thanks for watching the videos, guys. I appreciate it, and a shout out for my sister for the previous video, for being my cameraman or camera woman. I really appreciate that. You guys have a good one, and peace out.